as you can see on my face, it is another beautiful summer's day and I am physically melting. If you can hear noises, that's because the windows are open. I don't care anymore about the wind bothering the audio because I am sweating in front of you. It's unbecoming and I don't know what else to do except film another room, but I just missions, effort, time. So yeah, we're not gonna do that today. Just bear with me. I'm sorry. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Taff and today we're going to be reviewing a movie called Seas of Yesterday, the last installment of the Flowers in the Attic series. So I figured give people what they want because people tend to like these videos or they tend to get more views than my other reviews. So I was like, let me just finish off the series because the other three videos have done pretty well. So here we are. And the thing is, the books, like I didn't read the last book, but I know what the book is about. It's about the grandmother, like the evil grandmother. So when this movie came out, I was like, I wonder if they're going to deal with the grandmother story because it's so far removed from everyone that we know or the characters that we care about. It's a whole new cast. Are they really going to do that? And they didn't. They decided to go against VC Andrews' wishes. I'm sure that author is turning in their grave right now. And they wrote an entirely new movie, same characters, different plot, different everything, based on some sort of, it's like fan fiction. This entire movie is fan fiction. So yeah, let's get into it. So it opens up with a narration. So there's a lot of like cyclical, nice words. Round. The story is very round. And a lot of stuff that happened in the books or happened in the first movie keep repeating themselves, which I know is like a thing that happens in these movies, but now it comes back in like hard drive, you know? We open up with Kathy's narration discussing the properties of a mother and how to be a good mother and what it's like and how you learn how to be a good mother and how you learn from your own mother. And obviously she didn't learn that from her own mother. She's just reflecting. And they go back to Foxworth Hall because Bart now lives there. So they didn't tell us how far in advance they fast forwarded, but Bart went from being like 8 or 11 years old to like being 25 years old. So it's been a minute. So they go to Foxworth Hall and Bart has like redone the entire hall using his inheritance. But although he doesn't have full control of it because Chris is in charge of the estate until he turns 25. Well, that's what he thinks anyway, because we're going to read out the will again later at his birthday. So that's what's happening. So he's going to have this huge birthday bash for himself and just to reopen up the party and the hall. And apparently it's been like renovated and it's modern and it's fancy and it's new and it's fresh, gorgeous. Looks like a different place entirely, but Kathy still feels a little bit uncomfortable because of the PTSD. So they show up at the hall and whew, I'm dying. They show up at the hall and they meet up with Jory and Melody. And Jory is meant to perform because he's still a dancer and he's famous with Melody. They're still together, like all these years later, has high school sweetheart. Probably because she knows his massive secret about his parents being siblings, but whatever. So they're still together and she's pregnant with twins, so she can't perform. And Bart took that personally. He gets so upset. He's like, you're not even showing. What's your problem? And the thing is, falling pregnant was really difficult for them. And the doctor told her that she couldn't dance anymore until the end of her pregnancy. So she's been put on bed rest, you know? And then what happens is Cindy arrives. I don't remember Cindy. She was a little girl from the first movie who was adopted because her mom had cancer. She offers to dance. So there's like this whole thing where Cindy shows up. And I think we're meant to see her as like this vixen. Or like, you know in movies when they try to tell you who to find attractive? They did the music play, the slow motion, the angles. We were meant to find Cindy as like this hot ass, you know, like piece of meat. Like that's what, you're meant to look at her and be like, you know, like wipe the drool off of your chin. I mean, not that you don't do that naturally, but like they went a little bit hard with it. So we see Cindy and she's like all grown up now. Like she's under 21. I know she can't drink or party or go to bars, but she's a little bit older now. And she shows up and she gets like she's in these little cups with Bart because Bart keeps emphasizing, you're my adopted sister, you're my adopted sister, you're not my real sister, you're adopted, you know, you're adopted. And he keeps making these little quips like, oh look at your trashy little dress. And she's actually like really stylish and she's like, this dress is from Milan. And he's like, yeah, well it's trashy because it's short, and he's very much against that kind of stuff. He even has like this prayer room, which is like a shrine to Jesus, where he has like pictures of like Jesus on the cross, like, you know, like not like the nice Jesus on the cross where he's chilling, but like the ones where he's bloody and dripping with blood and with the crown of thorns, stuff like that. He has his own room. And literally Kathy's like, I didn't know you were still so religious. And I'm just like, how did you not know this? Like, he lived with you for like 1,000 years, you know what I mean? Like, before he moved out, like, he still kept Malcolm's journal. And even though he acted normal, as in no longer possessed, he was still very much mentally possessed, if you know what I mean. So what happens is, Bart is upset with Chris, or he's a little bit cold towards Chris, a little bit rude. He doesn't call Chris dad anymore. He calls him Chris, or sarcastically Uncle Chris or old man. Like, he's a little bit like aggressive. Like, he's like, you know, he's a little bit like, ugh, you know, makes comments like, yeah, a doctor's not a good financial advisor, make, because obviously Chris is in charge of Bart's estate, you know, like little things like that. Like, he's upset. So the thing is, Bart is still so upset about his parenthood. He's upset with Kathy for seducing his father, her stepfather, his grandmother's boyfriend, like husband. There's so many like things that he's bitter about. He's upset about Melody and Joy's sexual relationship. He sees them being intimate, not like going at it, but like he sees them like just, you know, like in couples are like kind of romantic in public, and he's like, ugh, you know. And Kathy's like, it's totally natural and normal for people who are in love to have sex, or for couples who dance together to be romantic and intimate, you know, years later. Like, I don't see what the issue is. But he clearly has his own like qualms about sex and everything, and this comes up a lot in the movie. Like, he needs therapy. He has problems, you know. And at one point he's rude to Chris, and Chris goes, listen to me, I am your Bart's like, you're my what say it to my face. And Chris is like, I'm the man that raised you. And Bart's like, I could destroy you in a minute. I could destroy you with one word. Don't try me, old man. Don't come here. Act like you actually... And it's really sad because you can tell that Chris sees Bart as a son figure. Like, you don't raise a kid your whole life, have him call you dad for 8 years, or I can't remember how old this nigga was, for like years, and then suddenly one day wake up and be like, well, he's not my real son just because he says you're not my real dad. It's very wild, you know? Like, the thing is, Bart always knew that Chris wasn't his real dad, but he still saw him as a father figure. You know, until he found out that they were siblings, well, Chris and Kathy were siblings, then he was just too disgusted. Like, it bothered him on like another core level. And I don't know if this would bother me as much if I found out my parents were siblings, because seeing this movie made me view incest differently. Like, it just made it more normal in my eyes. It made me feel like, hey, it's not that bad, you know? Like, roast me if you wanna. I don't think incest is that bad, provided it's not like parent and child, or grandparent and child, or adoptive parent and adopted, like stuff like that. Like, that's obviously inappropriate, that's grooming. But if it's like brother, sister, cousins, I don't know, stuff like that, like, let people live, you know? Like, I don't see the big deal. So if I found out my parents were siblings, obviously I'd feel a bit weird because I'm like literally the product of both of them, so I'd be like, oh, maybe that's why I'm mentally ill. But I don't think it would bother me as much as it bothers Bart, because obviously it goes against his religious beliefs, and religious beliefs are quite deeply held beliefs. So obviously it shakes him to his core to know this information. And I feel like he'd be a much more well-adjusted man if he didn't know. And I feel bad for him that he knows, because I feel like he wishes he doesn't know either, you know? And he blames his mom for all the evil in the family, because he believes that's the source of it. Not only because she's a mom, not because she's a woman, because she's like the other woman, she's a mistress. She is a seductress. She is, you know, an incester. I don't know what the word is. Incester lols. You know what I mean? And the funny thing is, Bart apologizes to everyone. He's like, I'm sorry, guys. I was in a little bit of a, you know, whatever. And everyone's like, hey, no problem, no, everything's Gucci, don't stress. Then we have Bart's birthday party. And does Cindy not show up in this red vixen dress, like oh god, it's a beautiful dress. Like, she looks amazing. If I had a body, I'd wear that dress too. But literally Kathy's face is like, and Chris's face is like, and Bart's face, he's upset. He goes up there, he tells her that she looks, you know, a little bit like, you know, inappropriate. He's like, you can't wear that for my guests. She's like, you call me a slut? I thought I'd dress like one. Oh, so he brought it upon himself. She's doing it to get a rise out of him. So then he goes to grab her arm. Well, this is why I think she overacts a little bit. Like, I don't think he was aggressive with her. I think she turned and he just went to go and touch her arm a little bit. And she pulls her arm away and slaps him across the face, and she's like, don't ever touch me again. And I was like, okay, I'm so torn, because like, obviously, like, if this was a strange man I don't know touching me, go ahead, slap him. He has no right to your personal space. This is your adopted brother. Like, it's not like a stranger man like grabbing you. He just went out to like kind of, you know, if he had grabbed her tightly, maybe the slap would have justified. But from what I gather, he literally just did this, and she was like, that hurt my hands. Oh yeah, that bitch slap must have hurt his face. My hands hurt. His face must have hurt. So that was a little bit like I don't know, I thought it was a little bit like, you know, and really wonder, why did she even show up? Like, clearly she doesn't like Bart, doesn't like her, that he doesn't see her as real family. He makes comments like, I know you don't make good judgment because you're adopted. Imagine. Which is ironic, because he thinks that the blood of the family is tainted and sinful. But now he has a go at her for being adopted. I don't know if he's jealous of her, if he also wants to be adopted, because then he wouldn't have the evil blood coursing through his veins or whatever. But he keeps emphasizing that she's not family. He doesn't like her. She's a slut. She looks like a slut. She dresses like a slut. Why did she come? Like, I know he may have felt obligated to invite her because she's family. But she had no obligation to come, you know what I mean? Like, she was in Milan, she was traveling, she was just sitting, she had no reason. She could make an excuse, but like, oh, sorry guys, I'm doing ABCFG. Why did she show up knowing that she's gonna go into like the lion's den, a man who hates her? Anyways, so the party, Cindy and Jory performed Samson and Delilah, which I don't know if you know the story. I don't know if I'm, shoot me if I'm wrong, but it's about a story about this woman who cuts this man's hair and he loses all his power because his power is in his hair. So you can take whatever you want from that story. Women suck, vanity sucks, I don't know, like, it's all in your mind, powers, you know, like, just, I'm not gonna come here and tell you, like, I know what the story is about. So take from that story what you will. And they have the whole performance, gorgeous, and then Jory pulls a pillar, like, after his hair's cut, and it comes down on him, right? Like, the whole thing just, he's crushed. Gets rushed to hospital, and we find out, homeboy is paralyzed. Now, this is where the movie gets a little bit like, okay, I'm so torn between ableist and realistic, because people who are able-bodied do have that level of ableism in them where they become disabled and suddenly it's the end of the world for them, and they make comments that are very hurtful to disabled people. On the other hand, like, that's reality. People do react like that when they become disabled. They have these negative thoughts, they have these, you know, hateful thoughts, they have these, like, these ableist thoughts about how the world is over, everything sucks, everything's over. As if people who are disabled think that way. They don't think that way. A lot of people feel empowered, or they're happy to have their wheelchairs. This guy hates his wheelchair because he was a dancer. He wasn't like a, how do I put this? Like if I lost my legs tomorrow, like, obviously it'd be a tragedy, right? Like, I'd be very upset. But it's not like I was doing much with them. I came out the wrong way, you know what I mean? However, that's his whole livelihood. That's his whole life. He's a dancer. That's his legs literally are, he could insure his legs. That's the best part. I've heard people doing that. Like, I've heard of models who insure their body parts because that's their livelihood. So that was his entire life. Like, his whole life was dancing. And he also finds out that he can no longer make love to his wife. And this becomes like a point that he keeps bringing up. And it comes out throughout the movie 1,001 times. He even tells his mom, I don't know about you, but if I could no longer make like love to my spouse, the last person I would tell is my mom. I wouldn't. Why would I tell my mom? What is she gonna do with that information? Oh no, honey, I got you. Let me help you out. No. Also, I feel like this is very much like a heteronormative view of sex, because he still has arms like that work sufficiently in a mouth. Like, let me not go into details, but I feel like he could have a really, really fulfilling sex life with his wife using toys or just like a strap on. She could ride him. I'm so sorry. But I feel like it's not the end for him, but he seems to think that it's the end now that he can't do this typical wham, bam, thank you, ma'am kind of like procedure. What makes matters worse, the night before the performance, Cindy overheard Bart upping his insurance to cover injury. So she thinks, oh, did he do this on purpose? So then the whole family is like, yo, Bart, did you? And Bart's like, how dare you imply this? I feel guilty enough because I asked him to dance. It wasn't me. So, that's the whole thing. And Kathy is like, what if this is like when he tried to drown Cindy? Like, he tried to disable his brother on purpose. So there's a little bit of like, but they all kind of drop it because like they have no proof. Then fast forward a little bit of time because Joy's in hospital for a minute. And Melody starts showing. And she hasn't come to visit him. Like, she just hasn't seen him in like a minute because she doesn't like hospitals. You think, who likes hospitals? I don't like hospitals. When my friends are in hospital, am I there all the time? Yes, I'm there visiting hours, after visiting hours. I'm in the hospital and I hate hospitals. So that's just a weak excuse. Like, whatever, it's fine. She hates hospitals and she can't bear to see him like this because she loves him too much. Yada, 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 yada. So Kathy's upset with Melody. The Bart is very understanding and sympathetic to her cause. And the funny thing is, in the book, what happened in the first movie, so in the second movie, what happened in the movie was Julian got into a car crash and passed away. In the book, Julian got into an accident and lost feeling in his leg, so he committed suicide, right? So the fact that now Jory, his son, has now lost feeling in his legs, recycling plot points, take them out of the book, repurposed. It just, I don't know, it's a little bit weak. And Melody says that she's afraid that she keeps expecting someone to come and tell her that Jory has passed away or killed himself. And the thing is, I had to listen to the story and be like, is that what you want someone to come and tell you? Is that like the dream? Is that what you're hoping to hear? Like, so that you're free of him? Or like you're feeling now you're tethered down to this disabled man, you know? And the funny thing is that when Bart's talking to Jory, Bart is like, your wife loves you so much. And then Jory's like, that's because you treat women like sperm deposits. And Bart's like, that's because women want to be treated like sperm deposits. They act like it. And I was just like, bruv, stop this. Like, why do you, like, this is, I know some people are always like, oh, he's not racist, he has a black wife. proof and evidence you can be racist and have a black wife. You can be misogynist and have a wife, period. Like, the fact that you can hate women so much and yet still be intimate with them. And here's what gets me about Bart. He thinks sexual marriage is sinful. He thinks sexual marriage is sinful. He thinks that women are sinful inherently. They're seductresses, they're evil, they're sin personified, they're walking bottles of sin. Ew. Right? But he still has sex with them. It's not like he's abstaining. He's not like he's not the Virgin Mary. He's out here having sex with these hopeful women that he hates so much. But why? Control yourself. You keep saying women can't control themselves, but here you are acting like a woman because you can't control yourself. You're still having sex. Grab some lotion and call it a day. Stay at home. Like, what are you doing? Anyways, it's fine. That's not my business. Then other little things happen. Like, for example, Bart is staring at Cindy as she's swimming in the pool. And then she sees him and she waves and he like shuts the window like, ugh, disgusting woman in a pool in a bikini. Like, he wasn't just like lusting after her with his own eyes. Then stuff goes down the rails. Like, dead ass, Bart serves Melody wine. And she's like, then she's like, let's have a little bit, you know, because she's pregnant. She's having a little sip of wine as if fetal alcohol syndrome isn't a spectrum anymore. I guess, to be fair, this is a really old movie. So I know they know that alcohol was bad, but I don't think they realized how bad even the tiniest bit was. So she's been having a little bit of wine. Bart kisses her, and she's like, oh no, the babies! Then she hops on top to protect her stomach, and they have a great, jolly, grand old time. And that becomes like a thing. Like, what's that quote? I wish I could say that was the last time I said that last time. It became a past time. Facts. That's exactly what happened. Thank you, Hamilton, for your words of wisdom. So then what happens is Jory leaves hospital and he forgives Melody. Melody's like, I'm sorry I didn't come visit you. Jory's like, you're a fragile woman. I know this because you're my wife. Don't stress. Bart kits the whole house up, like, to make it wheelchair friendly. He gets an electric wheelchair for Jory. He makes sure everything is like, he gets like, everything is just, the whole house is wheelchair friendly now, so that Jory feels freedom and comfort in this new home. Then we have the will reading, and the funny thing is that Bart went to go visit Jory hospital, and he was like, you need to come out so we can listen to the will reading. And it makes like he was joking, like, oh, come on, get out of hospital, we need to go and listen to the will reading. But I swear to God, this nigga was dead serious. And we discovered that Chris has power of the estate until Bart is 35, not 20, 35. And additionally, if Bart is admitted, he loses power and Chris will get all the money. Does Bart not throw a fit? Like, man is like pissing himself. He has like a little hissy fit. He's like, oh no, this is so unfair. You were in on this. You and Corinne are, you know, he gets really upset. But Chris can't do anything about it. Yeah. Also, I don't think the big deal, because not as if Chris restricts how Bart spends his money anyway. Like, Chris let him redo the entire house, no problem, no discussion, no fighting. So him being in charge of the estate isn't like that big of a deal. It's not like Chris is like withholds the money or makes him fight for it or is difficult about it. So I don't see what I guess he's independent and he hates Chris, who wants to be untethered or teared apart from him or estranged from him, but still, like, it's not that big of a deal in my eyes. But clearly Bart is really upset and feels betrayed by Corinne. Then we have Jory and Melody. So, like, Jory tries to get Melody to lie down with him. Like, just not even, like, to smash, just to lie down with him. And she goes, I will sleep in the guest bedroom. And she's like, I feel trapped. And he's like, we're trapped together. But the way she says it, we're very, like, it's evident to the audience that she feels very much alone. You know, which is weird because she has her husband right there and she can be with him. But she's making herself lonely, in my opinion. Some time passes and Kathy catches Melody and Bart, if you know what I mean. So Kathy's horrified, she's heartbroken, she's hurt. And Bart says he loves her, it was God's will. And that, you know, like he's more disgusted with Kathy and she has nothing to say because she's also disgusting. You know what I mean? Like, she can't say anything to me, you slept with your brother, you disgust me. Like, who are you to come here and tell me what's wrong or right? When you're the one who, like, committed incest. I don't know if that's the word, committed incest, who was incestuous. Who had an incestful relationship. Yeah, that kind of thing. Like, he can't take her seriously, he can't respect her, and he can't take her judgment or her moral judgment because of what she's done. So as a result, Kathy doesn't tell Jory because she knows it would break his heart. But she arranges like this romantic dinner for him and Melody. And then Melody goes off with Bart instead of showing off for the dinner and stands Jory up. So because he's so heartbroken, Jory takes a ride into the swimming pool in his wheelchair. Like, he just takes the entire thing into the swimming pool. It's nighttime, so I don't know how anyone saw him, but Chris sees him, luckily, and swims in and saves his life. And Jory is just like, let me die. So what happens is that, you know, Kathy confronts Melody, and Melody says, oh, I'm a dancer, I need to get the high. And Kathy's like, I'll destroy you. and Melody calls her names, if you know what I mean. And there's like a little bit of a tussle between the two, and they part ways. So then Melody apologizes to Jory, and Christmas rolls around, and they picture marital bliss. They're kissing in public, everything's great. But then Melody goes to Bart, and she's like, I need you. Like, I've been so long since I've had a man inside of me. Because clearly, I don't know, I told you, I told you earlier, I have so long since I've had a man inside of me, and again, I need you. And Bart is like, you're being punished for your sinful ways. That's why Jory is injured. And maybe your creatures, referring to the twins in her stomach, will come out deformed. It's what you deserve because you're a sinner, yada yada. And then he just leaves her, and she's like, and then with Lance, who, the funny thing is, the way Cindy greets this nigga, you'd think that they were close, but she's known him for about a week. She greets him, and she jumps into his arms, and they kiss. Turns out that's her boyfriend, or the guy she's known for like a week. Then Bart walks, he comes to dinner, they all have a chat. Then Bart walks in on Cindy and Lance going at it. I don't know where she was doing it, where he could walk in on her, like if it's not in the bedroom or whatever, because they weren't in a bed, you know? So Bart beats up Lance and then breaks his nose in 3 different places, and that's a whole thing. And the funny thing is that Cindy goes to talk to Kathy and Chris about it, and the way this moves about sexuality is so weird, because Cindy's like, you know what, I can't be with a guy and not give him what he wants. But if it's consensual, then why is she describing it as what he wants, not what she wants? Why isn't she say stuff like, I can't be with a guy and not give him what I want to give him? You know, like, I hate the way we talk about consensual sex even. We still give all this power to the guy and what he wants. But she wants it too, that's the thing. And she's like, it's because it's because Bart makes me feel so bad about myself. I feel like I have to give myself away. I hate the term as well, give yourself away. You're not losing anything by having sex with strangers. Stuff like that, you know, like... So they have a whole chat about that and just kind of emphasizes how weirdly this movie looks at sexuality, you know what I mean? Then Bart self-harms with in this little prayer room and prays for the strength to resist the horse in his house. Bart goes to apologize to Cindy and he says that Lance didn't deserve her. And there's a moment when they get really close and they're about to kiss, and then he grabs her hair, like, and pulls it because he's like disgusted with her, and he then refers to her as a bitch in heat. Bit rough. So then Chris and Bart get into a fight because of what Bart did to Cindy. And then it looks like a dream because of like all the fading. But I think Chris goes to like a brothel or whatever. He finds a woman, he has sex with her. And as he's doing this, or it's a dream, I don't know what, it looks very dreamlike. He says that sex for pleasure is a sin and lust leads to damnation, stuff like that while he's doing the deed. So it's like very contradictory, very hypocritical. Then Melody has like a breakdown which tells Jory that she hates the baby, she wants to be out of her, she wants to be a dancer, she never wanted to be a mother, she's been forced into motherhood, she hates it, yeah, one of my biggest fears. And she wants them outside of her, you know, she's screaming and she gets sedated to protect herself and the babies because clearly she wants to, we don't know what she's going to do because she's so emotional. At Christmas time, I don't know why, but Bart confesses to Jory that Melody's been sleeping with him or lusting after him. And then, I don't know if she's just emotional, I think she's emotional, but her water breaks. And then Chris has to deliver the baby because there isn't time for an ambulance, which is another one of my fears. Because natural birth. You know, so she gives birth naturally to like twins. And she's like really, by the first twin, she's like, I'm tired. And Chris is like, push! But she does. And the twins come out beautiful. They have like funny D names like Deirdre and I don't know. Kathy says the twins will have the life that Carrie and Corey should have had, which I think is really sweet and like a shout out to her twin siblings. Bart confronts Joy and tells him that Melody came to him as lustful and sinful as any woman, you know, because they're all the same, all women are the same. And then Melody leaves in the middle of the night. She just escapes, leaves a note, and leaves the twins behind him. We never see her ever again. That's the end. Melody bounces, she gets out there, and Joy is heartbroken because he's like, she left me, she left the twins. What kind of mother leaves her own kids? Melody's that kind of mother, which is kind of weird because I think she's going to go back to dancing, so it's not like she's going to be impossible to find. Probably going to find her really, really easily once she goes back to dancing. But I guess you can't force someone to be a mother to, like, you know, kids, so even if he does find her, what is he meant to do? You know, make her pay child support? What else can he do, you know? Then Cindy goes out to a bar and Bart finds out, and on her way back, he picks her up like in the middle of the woods, like he physically just grabs her, takes her to a part of the woods, puts her down, kisses her. Then they're intimate, we presume. And then shortly afterwards, he finds her in his bedroom in her underwear. And she's like, well, after what happened, like, I thought this would be okay. And he's really upset with her. And she's all like, you know, I always felt so out of place because you kept saying reminding me how I was adopted. But now is that the reason you kept reminding me is because you felt feelings for me. And now we don't have to be like Chris and Kathy Now we don't have to be like Chris and Kathy. We can be like, we're not real siblings. We can be together. And he's like, you know? And she's like, yeah, I was bound to find out eventually. I don't know how she found out, but she knows. Which is funny because throughout the movie, people keep saying secret and she keeps saying, what secret? And then no one tells her, but she knew already. And she's like, we don't have to be like them because we're like, you know, like as you keep emphasizing, I'm adopted. Anyway, so Bart calls Cindy a whore and she leaves. Like, she just leaves completely. She was meant to study where, like, near Foxworth Hall, but she decides to go to New York and dance like everyone else. So then we get a new nanny for the twins named Tony, and she's actually a fan of Jory's. So the funny thing is, like, she ends up dating Bart, and Bart goes to, like, Kathy and is like, I know you wanted her to end up with Jory, but she chose me. I came first this time. It wasn't like with Melody. She chose me. And Kathy's like, it's not a competition, my guy. And he's like, yeah, but I'm winning. It's very weird. And then Bart has dreams about Cindy, so he dumps Tony. And he's like, you want me for my money? And she's like, no, I don't care about your money. And he's like, And then Bart has, like, a baptism for the twins without telling anyone. I mean, he invites everyone, but, like, when he gets there, he's like, I'm going to baptize the twins now. And Jory's like, what? And as he's baptizing the twins, he has, like, a vision of drowning Cindy, and he tries to drown the twins. And it becomes this, like, big mess, you know, and Jory gets really upset. Everyone gets really upset because he just tried to drown one of the twins. So then Bart is sedated and Patty starts to pack so they can leave the house, because Chris planned to get a house in the area so they could be supportive of, like, Bart, but not suffocate him. So she's packing, he wakes up, grabs a knife, and he makes her go onto her knees. And I'm really scared at this point because I'm like, is he gonna, like, assault his mother, you know? So she's on her knees. He asks her to take off her top. She does. He gets really upset. He's clearly having a breakdown where he has a knife to her neck. He's making her undress. And it's just like this very uncomfortable moment where it's like, that's your mother, my guy. Then Jory comes in and chokes Bart, like, thank God, a godsend. And then Kathy leaves and Bart is begging her to stay. And it's actually really, really sad because it reminds me of me, but you know, we move. So then Chris is driving, like, home, I think, to pick up Tony and Kathy and the twins and Jory. And on his way, he stops around the corner to help this woman whose tires blown out because she took the corner too quickly. So he helps refer her, like, her car, everything is perfect. And once he's done, a car comes around the corner and we presume it hits him and this woman, or just him. And then a police car comes up to the house instead of Chris. And it's very much like, you remember the first movie where, like, the police car just ruined everyone's lives because when her first dad died and everything. Not her first dad, her first dad, I guess. Her dad died. So it's kind of like a repetition, it was a repeat of that. So when Chris died, I was like, ooh, y'all really went hard. And Kathy is really upset because she's the last remaining Dresden doll, you know what I mean? And then Cindy returns for the funeral and hugs Bart and everything's good. They kiss, they said they're meant for each other, like everything is Gucci. Then we have Chris's funeral and we see that Kathy leaves flowers on Corinne's grave, even though she was evil. Tony gets pregnant by Jory, or we assume it's Jory's. We don't know how, but I guess they made a plan, which I knew they could have the whole time, but whatever. Then Cindy marries Bart and becomes his partner in Jesus. And he becomes like this evangelical, he becomes like a preacher that preaches on TV, like a TV pastor. And he's like, this is my partner and she's my beautiful wife. I could not be here if it was not for her. Amen, praise the Lord, amen. You know that kind of guy? He's that kind of guy. And then everything in Foxworth Hall is covered in, like, you know, like white cloth. You know, like when they're packing up a house, they cover everything in white cloth. Which kills me because this house was built up super fancy. They moved in, they were locked up in the attic, they moved out, it was burned down, it was rebuilt, it was burned down. No, was it burned down again? It was rebuilt, it was burned down, it was rebuilt, and now no one lives there. What a waste. What a waste of money. And then Kathy goes up to the attic and she's busy narrating, like, oh, we never painted even one of our flowers yellow, like the same spiel from the first movie. And then she sits down in the window and she closes her eyes and she just puts her head down. And you kind of assume that she dies there out of broken heart or just like loneliness or just the right time. It wasn't the right time, she's quite young. It's a very weird, like, moment. Like, you don't know if she's falling asleep, but I feel like she died. Like, we assume that she has died. So it is such a wild, like, I don't know, movie. Like, the fact that Bart married his sister after giving Kathy and Chris the spiel and a half. And there's a word for the reason that siblings don't hook up with each other. There's like the war chest, something to the effect where basically, like, being in close proximity to someone, like, just kind of dulls that sexual attraction. So I found that very interesting that he still felt that sexual attraction despite living with her and growing up with her and being in the kind of environment where he was treated like a sister. Like, even if you told me tomorrow my brother was not my brother, I wouldn't be like, oh yeah, finally I get to slip in there. Like, no, I would not feel that way just because we've grown up together. You know, I don't see him that way. Even if you told me tomorrow, like, like, he's just a guy I picked up on the street who's adopted, that wouldn't change my feelings towards him, you know, positive or negative or sexual or otherwise, you know, platonic. So I don't see how Bart was unable to be like, I guess because he always knew, but I still feel like that's kind of, I don't know, because if you adopt a sibling to me tomorrow, like a guy or whatever, or girl, I'm bi, I would still perceive that sibling as a real sibling to me. I don't see adopted siblings as any less or any, you know what I mean, like, maybe step siblings, I'd be like, let me get in there, but an adopted sibling, no, that's their family. They still call your dad their dad, you know what I mean? So that's like, Like, even Clueless for me, I was like, what am I watching? Because the dad said, we divorced wives, not siblings, not kids. And I was like, but that's your real kid. That's your stepchild. Why are you still looking after him? Like, and why is and you have to watch Clueless, I'm talking about. But it was a very weird movie for me. I was very confused. So I think that Bart is the ultimate misogynist with the Madonna Hall complex. It's like most misogynists at least trust their mom. They view their moms as like the golden woman. They view her as the Madonna. But the fact that he viewed his mom as a whore as well made it even worse for him, because he had no woman in his life who he viewed with respect, or that he could respect or trust, or you know what I mean. So the movie was full of just plot twists and like weird things. And like when Jory tried to kill himself because he was disabled, that's what Julian did in the book. So I was like, you just recycled a plot point. You just stole it. VC Andrews is dying, rolling in their grave. I don't know if VC Victoria, whatever stands for Victor, or Vagina. I don't know. So would I recommend this movie? I thought I said yeah, I would. Oh, it's a bit late for me to say that, but I would. I would, because I think it's worth tying up the whole series together, even if it's not what VC Andrews wanted and not what they envisioned, and it's not realistic at all and doesn't make any sense. Yeah. I can't believe Bart left Foxworth Hall. Like, I don't see why he couldn't be a pastor and still live in his house. He left the house. He just left the house, I guess, to travel. I don't know. And also, Cindy dresses so much more modestly now. Like, she dresses like a pastor's wife. You know what I mean? You know what I mean. So, if you like, please like. If you want to subscribe, please subscribe. If you want to comment, I love comments the most. I really appreciate them. I read every single one. And any suggestions, I'd really appreciate them. Leave them below. Thank you and goodbye.